Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks to the organization for accepting our talk. We are here to talk about fortifying DevOps, but most of them, or we are really focused on understanding botnets. Okay, we want to explain a little bit with human words, not hacking terms or something like that. It's more normal stuff, and try to understand a botnet and how to fight or how to detect it, or maybe understand why it's so common in the wild. My name is Miguel Hernandez. I work as a security researcher for the last 10 years in different areas, in different companies. Nowadays, I'm more focused on cloud-native security, Kubernetes security, and cloud. And also, I speak in different security conferences, like Hacking the Box, DevSec, or RootedCon, besides. And also participate in different open source tools to secure a graph database or try to detect if you are impersonating your social media or using your identity in dating application with a speech graph. And nowadays, I work as a senior threat researcher at SysDig, that maybe you don't know it, but maybe Falco. Raise your hand if you know Falco. OK. Well, SysDig is one of the main contributors of Falco. And we try to do this talk with Alessandra. Present it.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I've been in cybersecurity for around 4 years now. Before being at SysDig, I was a threat intelligence analyst in Italy. Now I work as a threat detection engineer at SysDig, and I'm based in Canada. I've collaborated in terms of phishing campaigns, malicious mobile applications, Linux and Windows executables with the European certs before. And yeah, I'm also responsible for a few of the research we've put out there this year, which we will see a little later. Thank you.
So when you open any news about, or any blog or security blog, you always see something like this, like, hey, a new botnet or some government blog or this take down a new hire or new platform for DDoS, or the US charge some or recording some giant attacks for websites or government sites. It's always the same. We saw also Androgos malware that is very recent, and we see IoT, we see our application. Also, new botnets appear with thousands of victims or zombies are part of this botnet, targeting new CVEs. They are always the same, but maybe you need an explanation of what is going on, why this is so common, why it's always the same. Also, we are part of that. At SysDig, we write about this, and we try to understand better these actors and publish these 2 articles. And in this talk, we want to explain in details what is the difference between others, or what is the main role of the actors to perform their attacks. So first of all, everyone understand what is a botnet? I guess it's something simple. You have a number of nodes or victims, zombies, controlled by a master or the bad guy, basically. And there are some commands you can send to the botnet to send attacks. Normally, it's this traffic, basically DDoS, HTTP traffic, whatever, to take down a website. But there are also some variants where you can use this to send spam or phishing attacks. You can try to use this to gather more victims, making some scanning process. And also, the proper botnet has some technicals or tactics to hide the process or scanning more victims around the network and wherever. Okay? This is almost a summary of the botnet, but we want to explain step by step all of this. So first of all, this is the agenda, and we start with the zombies, because it's the most important part of the botnet. I need more devices, more items to use to perform my attacks more successful, okay? Because more bots is equals to giant or more traffic. So what is the purpose, or what is the idea of these actors? They try to find as devices as they can, and the first idea in your mind, I guess, is IoT. Okay, there are plenty of these: security cameras, printer, GPS, trackers. Also, it's quite common to show in the easy or the initial talks about security to show showdown offensive queries when you see a security camera and you can log in that and see the camera. So these attackers are not dumb. They want something easy. They gather this information and they put in they exploit it, or maybe this is just misconfigured. As you can see, Attendees found more than 17,000 internet connections without any authentication. So it's free. You just have the endpoint, you log in that, and you can start to use it or add it to your network. And also there are other studies with using Shodan when you see thousands and thousands of devices that are easy exploited and controlled by the attacker. So without any hard technical skills, you are able to have a big botnet just gathering this kind of stuff. So I think this is very common around the WannaCry incident because they show that all your devices are ransomware in some way and they asking for money. But the real state right now is more like this. Like all your devices are just sending attacks like EDP or ACK or whatever. This is the typical attacks or the commands that the botmaster sending to your items. So this is more the actual meme. But if we go to the Kubernetes or the cloud-native area, it's not just IoT. They are starting to deploy application containers with vulnerabilities. Based on our work, basically, we work with a honeypot that expose applications that are vulnerable for common exploits or non-exploits. We saw these attacks all the time with known vulnerabilities like ActiveMQ or RocketMQ. Log4j is crazy 2 years ago. These guys just put these CVEs in their arsenal and sending automatic attacks to gather more and more applications for adding to the botnet. Similar to the IoT, but with application. And now with Kubernetes, more easy to gather more containers and more stuff to manage. And as you can see, depend on the CV that they are exploiting, we usually name the actor in this way. And also, we have different, if the code is a bit variant or have some indication with a language or something like that, we also put another name. And again, we are part of that because we're naming, thinking like this. And it's something like this. When you saw the previous slides with the names and gorilla, blah, 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 it's something like this. They are just putting random names because they don't know exactly if it's an actor, if it's different actors using the same malware. But we try to understand, OK, this is a same actor all the time, that they are changing the approach, or they are just adding new CVEs, new exploits to the botnets to achieve more victims, or is real? In reality, is different actors that are fighting all the time and putting their names because they are setting these names. Usually, they put in their website or in the Telegram groups their name, so it's more easy to identify. But maybe they're always the same. They are changing their name all the time, so it's like a game. So,
right. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about Mirai, which is the infamous botnet that in 2016, its source code leaked, and that basically caused a lot of variants to be born and a lot of command and control. It's very cheap to establish one, and basically it would look like this. Most time, if you work in a SOC, you would see something like this. It's just like a basic bash script that would retrieve the botnet based on the OS or the architecture. For compatibility, it would use a number of basic defense evasion techniques, like use the temp location, execute directly from an IP address as well. It's a little suspicious. These are all red flags that usually give away that it's kind of a Mirai variant. They all look pretty similar. In this case, it was Rebirth, which we'll talk about it a little later. I just want to explain for Mirai, it's basically the king of the botnets because it is open source and it is very easy to set up as well. It can do a number of things. Everything's already established in the code. Basically, if you're not very technical, you can just set it up yourself, and it's pretty easy. And of course, it can be employed for a number of things. It can be employed for DDoSing. So if you're like an hacktivist and you want to target education sectors or governments, basically you can do that pretty easily again. You can also do crypto mining, of course, which is one of the big motivations we see. And it is kind of a pretty stealthy botnet, I guess not anymore, but it's still tried at the time, and it really became very infamous because it kind of fathered all the variants that we see today as well. Yeah, so from one study that was conducted in 2023, so almost 2 years ago now, there were 32,000 collected samples of Mirais and more than 1,000 command and control centers, so that's a lot. Of course, in VirusTotal, you can see almost 900,000 samples just for Mirai. They all have different names depending on who uses them and why they use them. So sometimes they're based on a random name, or sometimes they have an author sort of thing. And the why is just because it's easy. You can go on GitHub, get the code, and somebody even makes a README section where you can basically get told every single command you need to do to put up the botnet. So that's pretty foolproof, I'd say. One of these is the Rebirth botnet. We, as my colleague said, are guilty of having named a variant as well this year. And it is based on Mirai. It's basically a botnet for hire, which means at first it was created by 4 people, I guess. We observed on Telegram. They set it up. They tested it. There were some attacks collected in 2019, something like this. And then they put it up for hire. So what happens is that they create a Telegram group. They put on their information. They say, hey, we have a botnet. It's going to be very cheap to buy. And again, if you're not very skilled, you don't even need to do anything. You just use Telegram. You get access to their botnet API, and you start sending commands to the botnet saying, OK, start DDoSing. In this case, it was DDoSing. Start DDoSing this website. And yeah, so it was quite not really just Mirai. It has some other exploits from other malwares we have seen. Kubot is like a banking Trojan. That's also pretty infamous. And another one is Vulkan, a little more obscure, also based on Mirai. So the actors in this case kind of tried to distinguish themselves a little bit. They try to create a brand because there is such a thing now. And it basically could do a number of things, obviously targeting IoT devices and servers respectively. It also has a complete list of user agents to mask where the attacks are coming from so that they can recycle these user agents so that, if a firewall is blocking certain user agents because they were malicious, they kind of shuffle them and maybe one of them will go through. And it also has several scanning tools that basically, once they landed on a compromised system, they would deploy these tools, trying to find SSH keys, telnet keys, so that they would find more targets to basically install themselves on. And it also has a Python integration, which is kind of cool. I haven't seen that a lot. Basically, you can integrate your own, Python script for the botnet, and the botnet can carry it out once it's on the system. So another one we have seen is Shellbot. So just taking a difference from Mirai. Shellbot is written in Perl, which pretty old as well. I think it's around 2009 that came out. And it's open source as well. If you're an attacker, you're a bad guy, what you can do is basically, you can see it highlighted. You can set up an IRC server. It's kind of like the internet relay communication. It's very old. It's something that people used to use to chat back in the day, and now it's mostly malicious. And you can set up an admin. You can say, I'm the admin, and you can set up your channel. And you can say, in this case, what we saw is that the channel was based on the type of victim. So we saw in RubyGarp, it's another actor that we detected, like a Romanian-based actor. And what they were doing was basically doing a number of exploits for initial access. So we can see GitLab was exploited, mostly remote execution vulnerabilities to try to get in there. Once they're in there, they try to get a foothold. Again, this one was much more sophisticated than Rebirth, which, to be honest, was kind of a DDoS for hire. This one was a private infrastructure, was private individuals. As soon as we would detect something, try to get in there, they would kick us out immediately, like because they didn't want, and they basically started operating like a decade ago. So they're definitely pretty good. We found a number of tools that would say we're pretty sophisticated in terms of SSH brute forcing. And now they're basically for sale. I put up a screen there. The SSH fucker from 2022. Basically, you can get it for, I think, around $50 or something like this. So we don't know who developed it, but they use it, and they got a hold of it. And once they're on the network, they basically try to get everything they can in terms as well of SSH is the bigger one, but they also do like telnet as well. It's one of kind of the common targets of these groups as well. And they try to exploit as many vulnerabilities as possible. Some of them are a little old, but some of them were not so old. So that's pretty interesting. They read the news, obviously. They try to get in there as soon as there is something they can exploit. And they kind of also did more than crypto mining because we found, you can see in the bottom left, I guess, yes. It was the development of a mobile bank application for phishing for Netsbank. I think it's European bank. So that is quite a diversified skill set to put on a CV, I guess. And they also had an SMS spam tool, so they would basically try to spam as many people as possible. And we found evidence that that is how, between the phishing and the SMS spamming, that was how they were acquiring the means, the economical means, to start basically all this infrastructure. So they had like a number of domains, again, and there was a lot of IPs related to these domains. So as soon as we would get in there, they would kick us out, they would change the IP, and it would take us weeks to find a new IP because they would have like a pretty big infrastructure in there, all private, all, I think we can move, yeah. You can see a little bit here about the IRC communication. So they would enroll basically the compromised bot as soon as it would become a bot, depending on who we're using it. So we had like a number of actors that was like in the IRC channel that we saw. I think it was around 4 or 5 admins. One of them was like the developer. He was called like God in many cases, like because he would tell people like, oh, this is how you set it up. And if it doesn't work, they would go to him. They would be like, hey, my bot doesn't work. What do I do? And they were like, we found like all these logs. It was pretty cool. And basically, once it's enrolled, it depends like on the type of device. So for example, we found, I think if it was exploited, it was like a PHP situation. Basically, they would name it in that channel, and then they would keep track of all the bots that they had. And we don't know why. Like, we assume it was for crypto mining only, but they could as well just get done with it and sell them off. Sell them for access. There's a market for this, for compromised hosts, for a number of things. That's why it's pretty cheap now to even get one. So again, they were pretty good. So we will see if we'll find something in terms of motivations beyond crypto mining. So the botnet architecture, it's a little bit, it's not too difficult, I assume. So you have an exploit, which we've seen. It can be like a GitLab remote code execution or a WordPress or something like this. So they will start to deploy the Perl files, which is just the shell bot that we've seen before, where they would set up like the server saying, OK, you are my bot now. You need to communicate with me. And then the IRC server would reply back with the commands that the bot has to execute. So if it has to DDoS or it has to crypto mine or something like this. So as a stock analyst, again, in the upper right, you would see something like this in terms of communication. You would see the usual ping and pong, which is to keep the IRC communication alive. So and nowadays, it's pretty suspicious to see IRC communication on servers. So yeah. So basically, what would happen is, yes, now it's part of the botnet, going back to the graph below. And it could be employed, again, for a number of things. We also found evidence that they were sending phishing emails. So it could be that once they turn them into bots, they start sending phishing emails, try to acquire more payment information, which we found. So yeah, they definitely had a private arsenal tool, which we have tried to describe a lot in our blog. And it was definitely pretty interesting. And yeah, in terms of botnet code, we still have another variant which uses P2P. In fact, it was discovered, I think, in 2023. And it uses Redis instances to turn everything into a bot. Basically, you can see from the graph that doesn't render very good, unfortunately, that basically, since it was discovered, it became like very easy to turn as a peer-to-peer botnet. And it was exploiting like the Lua library, basically making it execute commands. And at first, when it was discovered, it wasn't really clear why it was doing this to Redis instances. There wasn't any instance of like crypto mining or anything. But recently, I think Security found that not only they were doing crypto mining now, they remodeled it, and they were also deploying a ransomware node and encrypted all the data and exfiltrated them. So it definitely became pretty dangerous pretty quickly. You can see at the bottom how an exploit for this botnet would be like. So they would basically take advantage of the dev TCP path in Linux to make it connect to the C2 system. Yeah, so there's other ways to do a botnet. This one was pretty simple. We found a botnet that was using SMTP, like email addresses. One was the server, and would send commands to the other email address. That was like the bot master, basically. And then I assume wherever it was received, because this is what we found so far, it would basically send it and make it execute things. What we found, yes, there were single commands, just like kind of reconnaissance related. We don't know. Maybe it's still in development, or maybe it was an abandoned project. But we were definitely able to get in there. The credentials were real. And there were real commands just sent by email, just email addresses like LCBU sent. So that's a little bit about the botnets themselves. And as I was saying before, it's really easy to get a botnet nowadays. You don't need to go on the dark web. You don't need to have any technical knowledge. You can go to just like a website, on your browser. It's not even a malicious website. It's literally a store where you can buy the botnet there. You can request just for $15 or something like this a month, the basic access. I think this was for Rebirth, $15, basic access. You have a number of attacks you can do. Once you exhaust that, the bot masters doesn't let you do it anymore. You can see here pricing. Some of them can be a little more sophisticated, depending on, I guess, the market that is in there. And yeah, you can buy one on Telegram, as we have seen with Rebirth. Yeah, also one of the things about these botnet communities is that maybe you start out paying, but once you get into this type of communities, you can also learn. So you can acquire skills that would allow you yourself, one day to set up your botnet and sell it to other people. So it is kind of a lucrative skill to develop. And there is the news.
Thanks. Just a small disclaimer. We don't support these activities, okay? We show you just few websites, few examples, but we are not in this team. We are the good guys, okay? So it's just to show you the easy that is to hire a botnet and make an attacks. And this is the real reason for all these attacks. All we see all the time because it's so easy. And these guys, I mean, the amount of money is not something small, okay? They pay a lot, and you see in the Telegram groups, they have groups for customers, like a company, okay? And we can see, hey, this is not working, sorry, I need to check it, and they upload, so they are just a company, but we don't support this, okay? It's just for... And this is something fun. When Alessandra published the article about Rebirth, they removed all the content on the Telegram group, but they left this for us, like, hey, thanks for your job. So hopefully more people read our article, but almost these guys are reading the article, so we really appreciate the feedback from this. And you see 500 people read this message, so it's a big channel, okay? It's not... And this is another reason that sometimes we don't put our name in the articles, or we ask for, hey, maybe we don't want to record some talks or something like that when we talk about this, because these guys, maybe they know our names, it's a problem for the future, okay? So that's basically the main reason for you didn't see a lot of talks about botnets or things like that, because they are very active in socials, and we receive like the typical emails or LinkedIn connection, weird, with links all the time, because we are in this area of security research, and that's for knowledge. So the next question is, okay, what is, you are a victim, or maybe not, or maybe all of us is a victim? Well, in this report, they are pointing that it's the government and entertainment. And my point with entertainment is just because they are trolls, basically. They hire these botnets because they are kids, and they want to lose their famous streamer that is playing Call of Duty or I don't know what game, but they want to stop their playing, so they hire this kind of stuff, and they block the match, and the streamer gets angry. So it's fun. And this is a real example. And again, the YouTube video is not blocked. You can go there, find Rebirth video, and you see with your eyes. It's nothing private. And also other botnets, they just have a list of IPs of the domain of these games. And it's more expensive, but you can send attacks for any of these web servers or the game servers to block the access. And they show you, hey, for Minecraft, I think it's also very, very common. So I think most of them are kids, but maybe they are hidden their real purpose or the real goals, using this kid's face to hide their real, they want to attack other infrastructure, but they say, no, we are kids, so don't worry about me. But this is more for governments and professional and like police, not for us. We just are here to explain and to understand the patterns of the behavior of these groups. This is another example with Discord that is very common in gaming, and they usually create these bots, these attacks to stop the chats. They are talking to each other, and they are in a discussion, and they are lost the discussion, so they send an attack of the channel, and they win because the other guy cannot talk. So again, maybe it's for kids. And this is very common when you see because they have this kind of stuff. They have extraction or they have this. Okay, you buy my botnet, but please don't attack governments. Don't attack .edu. Don't attack these places. And that's the main reason of this is because if they attack this kind of stuff, they get arrested, or they are more in the target of the governments. And we see time to time they take down DDoS services or DDoS for hire. And this, I think, is for October, the Europol, that latest ever operation against botnets. The thing is, maybe it's not working because, as we can see, there are plenty of websites again. The naming are very, very similar. I guess they're shut down a lot of stress whatever, and now it's stress other thing, and it start working again, and it's the same guys basically, and they are cloning all the time. It's true that also are a lot of scams. They are scamming each other to try to to take their money back, things like that. But maybe this is not the best approach to fight with botnets. So I want to finish with some takeaways. First of all, more targets means more botnets, more victims, more devices to be involved in this global business. So if you have any application deployed and exposed to internet, you are that target. Okay? And if you have a known CVE, for sure, you receive an attack in less than 24 hours, 48 hours, for sure. Doesn't matter if you are a small company, a PIM, or a giant company, whatever. You always are scanning all the time, and you receive an attack more often. Also, there are a lot of clones. Attribution is very hard. This is more for if some of you are technical in security. The attribution is more, I think, the most hard skill that, or the definition of the actor is very hard. And here is not very clear what are the best IOC to identify one actor or another. We usually use the domains they are using, the exploits they use in the arsenal, maybe the language they are using, but it's hard to know if this actor is one or other. In case of Rubycard, they are like 10 years in a row using the same approach with the same scripts, same domain, so it's pretty much easy to identify. With Revert, they are just renaming all the time. We take a window of time and we say, OK, this is the actor, but maybe now it's another name, but it's always the same. For me, this is my personal opinion, the future of DDoS on all of these attacks are more focused on entertainment, esports, and things like that, because the impact is more high. Imagine if you are with this World Cup of StarCraft or League of Legends, whatever the game, there are more people involved, more audience, and if you are able to impact these teams or this match, you are famous, basically, and you want to hire this botnet in the future, and they have a lot of promotion. So I guess this is these companies need to improve their security measures. They need to protect their application, and also educate the others to don't be part of these attacks and protect the system, because the other way they suffer this for sure. And last but not least, you need to protect the system. You need to use different security measures. In our case, we know Falco, that is like a security camera. And you can detect your threats in real time. You can deploy. It's open source. It's in the cloud native. It's graduate. So you are able to see, for example, when one of the main rules is the spawn a shell. So you have a container with a WordPress or with a Homeland or whatever, or the active MQ, and you saw that someone spawned a shell. Maybe it's weird, so you need to take care. So we want to share this. Please use something to protect your application on Kubernetes, because if not, you are part of the problem. You are part of your application will be another zombie of these botnets and makes more attacks of everyone. So I think that's all the reference that we use in the talk. I think we share the slide, but if you want to, because the photo is a mess, if you want to read the links, so we share the slides also here, so we need 2 slides. But everything that we talk here is public, less some screenshot and the private tools that is not anywhere. So enjoy with that. And thanks a lot. And any question, we really appreciate.
OK, let's see, because the questions. So the first one is if you are aware of attacks targeting specifically ML AI models to potentially change them. You know what? Change the results, of course. Yeah.
Well, OK, no, it's fine. Well, MLL security is a big trend. And I don't know if I think it's too complex with these groups to improve their arsenal to target a specific MLL to add to the botnet, because they need more experience, more skills that, as we show, they are very low skill. They don't need very experience on that. And I think ML is a high topic, and they improve their skill. Maybe if they learn in the future,
they will. They will, for sure.
But right now, I don't think so.
Yeah. So they're asking, I don't know if
Okay.
So can Mirai work in the background without alerting that exists?
Okay.
And if it does, how is the user supposed to?
Okay. Yeah. That's normally the use case, I guess. You want?
So it can be in the background, but if you use something like Falco, you will definitely see something fishy going on. So in terms of what can be like a suspicious location execution, like if you think about it, like why would a binary downloaded from an IP address execute from temp? Like that is something that, it's something that you can see pretty clearly. And I don't think, honestly, Mirai is like pretty famous now. So I think a lot of security tools, even not just Falco, would have some type of IOC-based maybe, which wouldn't work for the cloning. So that's why Falco is, in our opinion, a little better because it's behavioral more than IOC-based. Hope that answers the question.
Then there are a number of questions around the malwares.
Okay.
Like they're asking if any of these malwares work in the background without alerting the user, and then how is the user supposed to notice them?
Yeah, that's the main problem. Yeah, you need to know it. You need some kind of observability or monitoring tool or whatever. If not, it's very hard to know. Maybe
if it's super light, no? Exactly.
maybe the networking connection is your principal alert. But normally, this malware use defensive action, this kind of stuff to
If you're
avoid.
a user, you're not supposed to see it. That's the point.
Well, the main purpose of them is like not getting identified, no?
Exactly.
They're asking also like, how do malware affect and attack the gamers besides piracy? Well, like.
Well, so one of the things we've seen with Rebirth is that one of the guys that made the botnet had a TikTok account, I think, and he was publishing like his own streaming services, saying like, "Hey, I have a Warzone." The video game Warzone, like a nuke service. So basically, this can't even be monetized because if you think about it, you're like on, what is it called, Twitch, where you can stream and make money out of the streaming. So if the game is broken and you look very skilled, people are going to follow you, and maybe that's going to make you money. And that's also like, the problem with trolling as well. Like maybe if you're like in a public server playing with other people, like somebody is just DDoSing the server, so you're not able to play, I guess. That's also one of the things, I guess, with this DDoS attacks.
And then they're asking, okay, so some extra advice to identify if the devices are infected on the botnet, so are infected, and then any way to clean it aside from formatting and reinstalling anything?
No, I don't think we need to, well, you need to totally nuke your device. It's more identify where is the binary running or the process, remove it, try to clean all the persistent they usually do in the cron tab or the system CTL. But I mean, you need some kind of a scanner detecting almost the network, I think, is the main point to, if your device is connecting with something weird, you are infected for sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And if you need help to clean, maybe you need to restart. Yeah, you need more skills to detect because they are very smart. It's hidden.
Also, if you're like in a container, you could use something like Falco to kill the container or kill the process. That's kind of like the purpose of the agent-based detection, is that it can actually do something for you when it detects it.
But there's no pattern aside from that, right? Because they are trying to avoid that, really. So
yeah, I mean,
at some point, no?
You enter in the forensic area.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so this more or less covers it. Thank you very much for your talk.
Thank you.
It's really, we always appreciate different talks, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much.